Hello and welcome to another Hand Drink Solo wine info video. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, why don't you subscribe to the Hand Drink Solo channel so that you can keep up to date with the 6 videos that I make each month, covering unusual cultivars, rising winemaking stars, and some of the more unusual wine expressions that are coming out of the dynamic South African winelands. Today's video focuses on the MAN Skaapveld Syrah 2020. Now, the Skaapveld Syrah was the discovery of the show at the Investec Trophy Wine Show for 2022. It was also one of only 8 red wines to win a gold medal at the show. To give you some context, of the roughly 700 wines that were entered into the competition, only the top 4% managed to achieve gold medal status. Interestingly enough, only 25% of the gold medals were awarded to red wines. 75% were white wine. Now, if we look at the statistics of the national vineyard in South Africa, that kind of makes sense. I mean, after all, the vineyard is roughly 55% white cultivar, so more white than red, but it is totally at odds with the general preferences of the average casual South African wine lover. And if you contest this fact, I challenge you to prove me wrong. Find a gathering of wine lovers where the reflex gut response to the question, what would you rather drink for the rest of your life, red or white, is white wine and not red wine.
What's your point, Vanessa?
Well, I guess I don't really have a point, except that it's quite interesting that we live in a country that produces more white wine than red wine. Globally, South Africa is famous mostly for its incredible white wines, not its red wines. And yet, the average wine lover living in South Africa by far prefers red wine to white wine.
Brad, stay focused.
Yeah, stay focused.
Oh, well, let's get back to the MAN Vintners Skaapveld Syrah 2020. Now, it's called Skaapveld because there's a lot of sheep grown in the area where these vines are planted. And that area happens to be Agterpaal, which is about 55 or 60 kilometers north of Cape Town. Now, the vineyards are not super old. They're between 10 and 20 years old, and they planted at an altitude of about 200 to 350 meters above sea level. But all these little statistics tell you nothing about what the wine actually tastes like. So let's give it a go and see what we're in for. Well, the wine is 93% Syrah, and so we should not be too surprised to smell that there is some lovely, fresh, vibrant blackberry fruit in there. There's also a hint of gamey meat and some pepper spice. And then, of course, which makes it quite lovely, an element of kind of tilled soil or fresh earth, which has a technical name. That smell of fresh earth or soil after rain is called petrichor. So if you're talking about this wine to someone and you don't want to say fresh earth, you can always use the term petrichor in order to convince them that you're a wanker. And then also on the nose, which I found quite interesting, was a lighter sort of almost ripe strawberry element, which I was a little confused by until I noticed on the technical sheet that there are a few splashes of Cinsault and Grenache in there, which seem to speak quite loudly, I feel, especially on the aromas. And when we take a sip, well, those lovely Syrah blackberry fruit components run down the core. There's some pleasant tannic grip and also that savory hint of meatiness in there. But then, lifting it and adding a whole nother element is again those wafts of strawberry and cherry, which really take it to another level. And it's not tart, acerbic, raspberry type elements, but rather a slightly riper, sweeter and red plum element, which really adds a whole nother dimension. So to summarize it, you've got red fruit and you've got black fruit, then you've got that kind of salty, savory, gamey interference to add complexity. You've got a little bit of pepper spice on the tail, which all in all makes for a rather compelling performance. And if you want to know what went down in the cellar, well, all the components were fermented in stainless steel tanks. Then the components were blended and allowed to be matured in French oak for about 12 months before they were bottled under screw cap. And that's about all we have time for today, but I would love you to give this wine a go and then share your thoughts with me. Leave a review in the review section on the handdrinksolo.com website page so that I can hear your thoughts and see where you're at in your own personal wine journey.